This here be strictly for the listeners, y'all. It's hard work being this damn good. They wondered how could I top the last.
What's up, Chicago? What's up, world? It's your boy Maze Jackson. You know what? Somebody called and corrected me last week, so I have to stop saying it's your boy Maze Jackson. They said it's unworthy of my stature in life that young black men, I don't know if I'm young, should be calling themselves boy. So let me do that again. What's up, world? It's your man Maze Jackson. You are live. That's right, live on Intellectual Radio. That's right, www.intellectualradio.com. We are an iHeart radio station, and I cannot wait to chop it up with you like we do every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Right here, www.intellectualradio.com. Give us a call, 708-223-8953. We are an iHeart radio station, live in studio. You know, guys, I am always happy to have this guest in studio because he always gives us some insight and perspective. You know, he gives me a little hard time every once in a while, but I think he's one of the best writers out here in the Chicago Sun-Times. The Chicago Sun-Times own Mark Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause. If I had like a sound effects button. I think I'm gonna work on that, Earl. When I redo my set, I'm gonna have a sound effects button, so when we have a guest, it'll go like it.
Well, I'm honored to be on here with you again, Maze.
Well, Mark,
always good to mix it up with you, though.
Well, I enjoy when you mix it up because we always have a diverse conversation. We come from different perspectives, but really, Mark, I think most of the times we're on the same side. I just need to put a.
I think we both like to get to the same place. We might have different opinions on how to get there sometimes.
I agree with that.
I want you to be prosperous, Maze.
I want to prosper.
That's the main thing.
Well, you got to prosper. See, I believe that you got to do good to be doing good. And unfortunately, in our community, and when I say our community, black community, we have a very interesting relationship with money. It's like everybody wants it, but the second you get it, then everybody who doesn't have it calls you a sellout and that you are compromising your principles. And I think that what we have to do in our community is really start to connect the dots and really start to participate. So with that in mind, Mark, we're going to jump right into it. There's a lot. Well, I was going to say there's a lot going on, but actually there's not really a lot going on. There's really nothing going on. When last you visited, we were in the midst of an election and a budget impasse. Looks like we're in the midst of an election and we're in the midst of a budget impasse. Why don't you start with just recapping for our audience where we are and how we got here, and then we'll talk a little bit about your article that you had today, and we'll talk about a plethora of subjects. But I really kind of want you to give our listeners a insight of what happened, what's been going on in Springfield.
In Springfield, okay.
Let's start with Springfield.
All right, so. In Springfield, we're basically where we've been for 18 months since Bruce Rauner got elected. Where, he's trying to get what he wants, and the Democrats are trying to block him from getting there. And that means that we don't have a state budget now going on into the second year. Well, almost into the second year. If we don't get a budget passed by the end of this month, we'll be going into the second year, and state's falling apart, dude.
The state is falling apart, and my question is there any solution on the horizon? Is there anything what can we expect? What can we hope for? It just seems to me like there's gloom and doom. Now, last week there were some interesting moves. The Senate. Illinois Senate kind of bucked the speaker, and what happened there? Well, let's not even say buck the speaker. Let's say that the Illinois Senate Democrats decided that they were going to take a different tack this year. What's going on with that?
They did kind of buck the speaker, I think, but oh God, that's last week already. I've almost forgotten. I was down there in Springfield. The speaker kind of tried to do what he did a year ago, which is pass a budget without the money that costs more than there's money to pay for it. And The big difference this year was that he combined the overall general spending of government with the education funding and put it all in one package. The intention being that kind of tie the governor's hands, that he couldn't just take the education funding and let the schools open on time, the whole thing. So this was, Madigan did this in an exceptionally ham-handed fashion, even for him, or it's kind of a ham-handed bullying, I don't know. And it really, it caught a lot of bad press. It went over poorly. The Republicans jumped on it. And so it really made it very hot to handle for the Senate Democrats. And they didn't want to be embarrassed and do the same, catch the same flack. So they decided to come up with an idea of their own, which was an education-only funding bill, which, well, this gets so down into the weeds, man.
Well, don't even get too far down into the weeds. But so, Mark, explain to me the concept of passing a budget, $7 billion over. Well, if we don't have the money to pay it, well, I don't understand the logic of that.
I mean, the unfortunate part is that the speaker never takes the time to explain exactly what he's thinking. But I would point out a couple things that he doesn't bother to point out. What I think that it's about at the level that the budget's going to end up. That's how much we're already spending, basically. And if we spend a little more on education, that's what we need to spend to keep things intact.
Where does the money come from?
It's going to come from an income tax increase and a broader sales tax, or something, some combination thereof. We're going to go back to where the income tax was before the Democrats got cold feet a couple years ago and backed down and let it expire. And there's going to be something of a broadening of the sales tax that includes services or something, so that the sales tax makes more sense. Most every state in the union, is ahead of us on that. So that's where it's going to be, and nobody's got the guts right now to say so, because they want Rauner to take the lead, and Rauner doesn't want to take the lead. It's the same fight we've been having for a year and a half. Rauner is going to come out. He's going to be in favor of all this stuff that he's beating up the Democrats for, if he can get his package of legislation that he thinks would help business in this state. And I mean, that's it. And I mean, that's still the fight.
And so, Mark, when does it end?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Well, the next thinking is, okay, if one side beats the other in November, then maybe it ends. But the fact is, Rauner goes on as governor for 2 more years, and I don't think either side can beat the other side convincingly enough to get them to back down. I mean, Rauner truly believes this is why he was elected governor, to do these things that he would call reforms.
So should there be any, let me back up. So should there be any compromise, or should we just starve it out? Because it seems to me, Mark, as though, while I think that the two guys at the top have the money and the resources to wait this thing out, I feel like Rauner's going to get his budget cuts because the businesses are just going to go out, and then we're just never going to see him again anyway. Thoughts?
Well, I don't know how much. I mean, Rauner hasn't really. He's not really pushing budget cuts. He's really not. I mean, he wants some budget cuts, but he's not. Budget cuts hasn't proven to be his thing. I mean, he's got some. I mean, there's things he just isn't funding at all right now, but that's a factor of there not being a budget. He hasn't said, oh, we spend too much money on that. I mean, for the most part, he hasn't. And when he has, it's always proven out to be something he doesn't know what he's talking about. So, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't things that we waste money on, but that's just really not where this fight is right now. It's not about cuts. It's it's. I mean, we'll get to there at some point, but I think, I mean, even the Democrats are saying cuts and revenue. And
I thought he said he was going to go with revenue too.
He has said that, yeah, but he won't go with revenue unless he gets his quote reforms.
Well, I thought he cut that list to 10. So, Mark.
He has cut the list. Yes, there should be compromise. You started to ask me that.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe there should be compromise. But, even, just because they, I mean, I think Rauner over asks even on the compromise stuff. So, and I think the speaker is dug in to doesn't want to give him anything. So we're stuck, dude. I don't know what to do.
So I guess my question is,
I've written it every way.
Having passed a budget, having not passed a budget in 2 years, who's actually working in Springfield? I mean, what are they working on if there's no budget? I mean, the fundamental operation of the state is to allocate the funds, right? How does this play out for?
Legislators. I mean,
yes,
legislators can always find things to do. I mean,
are they meaningful? Is this really productive? Should there be? I mean, I guess my question is, why should there be anything that we're talking about besides the budget at this point?
Sure, life goes on. I mean,
when does it crash?
I remember one of the amazing things they were talking about last week that I couldn't believe is they wanted to legalize silencers on guns.
They wanted to legalize silencers on guns as a solution, or to be tough on crime as a distraction.
It was a solution to the problem, as I understood it, of people in gun ranges wanting to be able to shoot their guns and keep it a little quiet. It was the craziest stuff I ever heard. But
while we didn't have a budget.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. You could talk. I mean, this is the thing. You could have. They're not even in session now. I don't see any, and they're only going to come in on Wednesdays. I don't know if this is one of the Wednesdays. It doesn't matter. They could come in as often as they want. They could talk about it as much as they want until the big guys are ready to make a deal, or the little guys can figure out a way to force somebody's hand. It doesn't matter. And I don't think there's enough of a consensus for the little guys to force the big guy's hand. Well, what do you think? Come on.
Well,
you get opinions.
You know what? I have an opinion. I had an opinion. My opinion was that that the legislators on both sides needed to be responsive to their constituents and the needs of their constituents. And I believe that I do believe that the governor was elected with a mandate to try and fix something. And I feel like we have nothing done on either sides. I'm tired of fake legislation being passed to say, hey, it's legislation passed for mailers and legislation passed to appear as though we're fighting the good fight. But I mean, we got softball games and stuff going on down there, and everybody's having picnics and parties and having a good old time. And I just fundamentally feel like they're not feeling the pain of what's going on right now to constituents. Now, and the fact of the matter is, if CPS doesn't open, who's to blame, right? And I would tell you that, quite frankly, in my books, it ultimately falls in the laps of black legislators. Not to slam them, but if they can't cut a deal, black and brown legislators' kids are going to feel it the most. Hey, I got a kid that lives in Beverly. None of the white people in Beverly send their kids to the public school. They all go to those Catholic schools out in the suburbs that don't seem to be missing anything, don't seem to be having a problem getting desks, don't seem to be having a problem. And so I fundamentally feel like my community and the Latino community is at a disadvantage because this war is being waged on really on this CPS, particularly this CPS war, is being waged on their backs. All the people talking about this don't have any kids in CPS. The mayor doesn't. Actually, Rauner does. Doesn't he? He got one.
He did.
He got one. He got one in Walter Payton. Rahm sends his kids to private school. The speaker doesn't have any kids, but they didn't go to public school. And so I feel like most of the people that are talking about this that are in the control situation are not impacted by this in the least.
Well, they're impacted on it politically. You can't. I mean, you.
Well, here's the question, Mark. How are they impacted on it politically when you know that in the black community, in most the premise for the party is to avoid having competition, so you can keep voting for this craziness. So you look unless you are on the bad side of the speaker or the party. You really don't. They'll spend all the money in the world to eliminate you from having a challenger so that you don't ever have to answer the questions on why you took votes that are detrimental to our community. I fundamentally feel like we sent everybody down there to be adults. And if these people were at my house and my kids had a toy box, I would say, you guys need to figure out a way to play together. You got to work it out. Now, apparently something about Pat Quinn discouraged people from turning out, which created this monster. But the fact of the matter is this monster is here, and what are we going to do for the next? Are we just going to not have a budget for 4 years? And the people, I'm torn, Mark. I'm torn. And I do feel like the only person that has demonstrated their unwillingness to try and come up with some sort of compromise is the guy on Pulaski. But hey, what do I know?
Well, that's the way it looks. I can't argue with that. But it's not like. I mean, there's two big figures here.
Oh no, I believe that,
and I believe that the one guy's ask has created the problem, and then so it set off a situation that is out of control.
And Mark, I just feel like, aren't we 111 when you add it all up? Isn't it like $111 billion in debt? Something like that when you get all the pension stuff and pile everything together that we owe.
I'm not good at numbers like that.
Okay.
I don't know what the number is, but yeah, probably is something along those lines.
So at 11,
it's a huge number, a number that we can't really comprehend.
And I just find it hard that we can buy into this in 18 months of this place, and there's nothing that we need to do to fix it. I just fundamentally feel like we play this boogeyman game, like, ooh, there's somebody bad out here and he's just the devil. But I just feel like, at what point do the leaders have to compromise? I'm frustrated with this whole process. I think the governor has some crazy demands, but I think that if you look at why we're in the position that we're in, when you got people that are retiring at 50 or 45 or 47 and then going and getting another job and getting another pension and then getting another double down pension, it just is maddening to me. And I feel like all these people have put these laws in place to protect themselves. And when you think about the fact that we're talking about, 3% of the population is doing this to the entire state. It's 3% of the state's working population is really crippling us at 93% of our state workers.
Well, it's not state workers. It's government workers.
Okay.
Public sector workers, pensions.
I just think the world has changed.
Which is a much bigger percentage than that.
Was it 13%? It might be 13.
I think it might be bigger than that. I mean, it's kind of amazing to me, it might not be.
I don't think it's bigger than 13%.
I think if you looked at all the people that are
eating at the trough,
connected to what
Mark,
government spending in some way, it's an amazing.
But there's this sense of entitlement that does not exist in the real world.
I'm not quite in the mood tonight to beat up on public sector workers, but yeah, I mean the pensions are terrible. I mean it is a terrible problem, but the problem is we wrote it into the Constitution to protect the pensions, and so nobody can figure out a way that fixes the mess we made. There are ways, but there's no painless ways, and everybody wants the painless way.
Well, right.
Now, I mean, going back to the school funding and CPS, and you saying it's going to fall on the black legislators. I think the black legislators feel like it's going to fall on the black legislators, and they don't want to be in that position. So, everybody's going to be under pressure as this goes forward. Now, the interesting play of what Madigan has done is, and Cullerton has done, is they have tied Chicago getting what it needs to to something that'll help. There's a lot of downstate schools that are in very similar condition, if not worse condition, to CPS, and they need help too. So they've made a smart move here, I think, and okay, we're going to help out. We're going to come up with a system that's going to help out all of these schools. Now the thing is, it screws over the suburban schools, and or at least suburban schools mostly, which are the wealthier school districts. And of course, the Republicans aren't going to go for that. So at some point, it comes back to there's going to need to be some sort of hold harmless funding system that helps out all these schools and doesn't hurt anybody else. Which is just out of your pocket, Maze, out of your pocket.
All sounds like it's going to cost me some more money.
It is gonna
I went and bought a Snapple yesterday. And that Snapple, the tax on my Snapple was 20 cents. 20 cents on my dollar went to the tax on my Snapple. And you're asking for more. And just check this out. I pay to send my kids to private schools, and I still got to pay these taxes. Hey, we're going to keep talking about this, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Mark's article about the governor's big miscalculation. I think we all kind of made that miscalculation because I certainly assumed that the mayor and the governor were in cahoots. We'll talk about that and much more when we come back. You are tuned in to the Maze Said Podcast, live right here on www.IntellectualRadio.com. We are an iHeartRadio station. We'll be right back.
It's hard work being this damn good. They wondered how could I top the last CD, but the gift of these words make what you hear now compared to what you heard look easy. And the last album was just a sign that it was time for me to be released from the earth. Third trimester definition, last stage before birth, the womb of my mind. Now I'm expanding my nostrils, particles of a new man in an obstacle, a new testament, the beginning of a new sentence. Black ice, the definite article, and I become a part of you. 4 hours later, still serving you like a waiter, giving you wisdom like a father do. And I'm just hoping that you can keep up. I'll do the work, you just sit back and kick your feet up. Another job well done. Coming from Inglewood to Hollywood, strictly for the listeners, it's hard work being this damn good.
I put in work.
Oh, it hurts being this good. I come on the heels of Rakim and Kane, KRS-One, Cool G Rap, P.E. Nas, and Cool James. In game, I'm still lyrically thirst. Drop cold from the last name and put black in front of the first. And with this gift comes a curse. That's where the hater comes in at. And with success comes the worst. That's where the traitors come in at. But I don't like to deal with nonsense. I'd rather drop knowledge and like a Jehovah's Witness knock on the door of your conscience. Now I done been to some of these poetry sets, and I done seen some of these poetry cats. They just not ready. When I walk into the spot, I storm brains and cause back pains because I'm real top heavy. Breaking records and legacies. Hard goddamn work making you look so bad. It's hard work, y'all. Hard goddamn work for another man to make another man look so bad. Nothing can stop the flow of the pen stroke. The flow is so steady that it's serious. And you gonna need a pad with wings to catch the overflow. And that's all I need to say about that. In the sentence. Period. And all y'all
What's up, world? It's your man, Maze Jackson, and you are tuned into the Maze Said Podcast, live at www.Intellectual Radio. We are an iHeartRadio station. I am in the studio with the man, the writer, the man who gets down with that pen and paper, Mr. Mark Brown, and we are talking Illinois politics. So, Mark, before we went to break, I was talking a little bit about your story today. Now, today you put a story in you wrote a story in the Sun Times, and you talked about Governor Rauner's miscalculation in regards to his relationship with the governor. With Mayor Emanuel. Give me the background on that.
Well, first of all, I can't remember that I used the word miscalculation. So
okay, that's how I characterize.
But that's all right. It might be a good way of characterizing it. Well, today the governor had a little press conference and he talked about how his single greatest disappointment since he's been governor is with Mayor Emanuel, basically saying the mayor hasn't had the guts to go to bat against Speaker Madigan on things that the governor says that he and the mayor agree on. But that, he always thinks the mayor's, this is one of the things the governor says all these Democrats tell him, oh, they're really on his side, but they won't buck the speaker. Now, you have some experience with working with guys who would probably tell you there's some truth to that. But in fact, I think you have told me there's more truth to that. But I still don't see many of those guys out there. But they certainly don't speak up. I think the miscalculation, I guess, as you put it, is I really believe that the governor. Well, my column is about Fran Spielman interviewed Alderman Pat O'Connor, and Pat O'Connor said, the governor just misread things if he thought that the mayor was going to come in and put all of his political capital on the line to pass Rauner's agenda. It just was never going to happen, and I think that was a correct way, analysis, and I don't think anybody had really pointed that out before.
I think it's interesting. I think that first of all, I think that Governor Rauner, in a different life, would be considered he would have been a DLC type of Democrat, which was the Clinton, the socially conservative Democrats. I believe that Governor Rauner deep down was a Democrat, a very right-leaning Democrat who saw an opportunity to buy the other party and stepped in.
Absolutely. I think you've got, that's it. I think that's in a nutshell.
And I think that first of all, I think you cannot ignore the tie that he is the guy that encouraged Rahm and really helped Rahm make his first $16 million through a variety of just different things in that hedge fund world. But I fundamentally believe that Mayor Emanuel, I think that if you listen to the original rhetoric of Mayor Emanuel, particularly as it related to teachers, it related to schools, etc., they were on a parallel track.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I believe that they were on a parallel track, and as the mayor, and I think that the mayor had a mandate coming into Chicago. I think he messed up when it leaked out that him and Karen Lewis had the little tit for tat thing, and he said "F you, Lewis" or whatever, and I think that turned black women against the mayor, and I think the tables turned just a bit. It turned women, not just black women, but I think the tables turned, and I think you saw that momentum build up, and I think over time, the mayor recognized that he was going to lose the battle with the schools. So he couldn't afford to get into that fight because they had already struck on him once. So I believe that they had a plan to bust up. I think when you look at what happened with UNO, when you look at the charter school movement, I think when you look at the members of the boards of directors, and I think if you look at the momentum of the charter school movement when Mayor Emanuel first got to Chicago, I fundamentally believe that he and the governor were on similar tracks. I also believe.
I mean, Rauner was one of his education advisors. I think.
Right.
I think he was a guy telling Emanuel what to do.
And I think as time, because I think when you look at the hedge fund world, I think when you look at Ken Griffin, when you look at Michael Sachs, when you look at Governor Rauner, those are all, to me, when you're in that stratosphere of money, those guys all there's only certain people you're going to call. Like when you got $20 billion, who can you call? So I think that those guys were all in cahoots, and I think that the mayor operated in those groups. I think that the mayor completely lost it, right? Let me back up. I think that any thoughts that the mayor would possibly put any resistance up to the speaker went away in the last election cycle when he had to do everything that he could to save his life, and I believe he made a deal. Now, what would make me say that that he made that deal is when you look at the mayor's chief of staff, right? So at the point in which the mayor made Eileen Mitchell the chief of staff, who was one of Madigan's top lieutenants, right? Like that's the woman that he invested in to see go on and push forward. I think that you knew that that was the alliance between the mayor and Speaker Madigan, and as long as Eileen stayed as the chief of staff, there was no way that, I think that cemented Rauner's exodus from Mayor Emanuel. Do you know Eileen at all?
I don't know Eileen,
Okay,
and I know that what you're saying is true, that she was one of the speaker's people. I haven't ever tried to sort it out as to whether that's a deal or just, the fact is that a lot of the best talent on the Democratic side ends up working for the speaker. I mean, because that's where the power is, and they seem to have a pretty good eye. They've had a lot of good people through the years.
Well, I mean, when you can pass laws to make sure that they do a good job, I think it's great. But I do believe, let me say this. There is no questioning that the speaker has a political army untouchable. And I would just say that the point in which Eileen Mitchell became the mayor's chief of staff, then I think that that was the marriage that brought together the Emanuel and the Madigan relationship. And I think at that point, the governor got the boot. So now the governor is out here on an island. How does this play out, do you think, long term? Do you think that, well, first of all, let's back up. What do you think happens with the schools?
Well, that's still his calculation still is that to get the Chicago schools open, somebody's going to have to give in to him. And I mean, until it's done, I mean, who can say that that's a wrong calculation? The mayor can't let it slide. He's got to try everything he can. I don't know what the speaker's feeling exactly is on it.
He's worried about his kids.
Who knows? He may be willing to let it happen. I know Cullerton doesn't want it to happen, but everybody, we're still. This is where we started the show. We're still where we've been. It's the essentials are still. Can they find some way to make peace here, and at least in the short run? Now, I don't think, again, Rauner now has said, yeah, let's have a short-term budget, but with no extra money for Chicago public schools. Well, without extra money, I don't think they can get open this year.
Well, let me ask a question. So we keep seeing these stories every week about how the population of CPS schools is going down. We keep seeing these numbers about how the black people are leaving Chicago and they're going into the suburbs, etc. I read something that said that CPS dropped by 6,000 students. So is it wrong to reason that the number should go down of the money that CPS should be funded? And then my other question is, because I was watching a debate with Greg Goldner, Victor Reyes and Brian Sleet from the Alder Track anniversary, and as I was watching that, they suggested that the black, that the black population was going down, and so that it just didn't seem like there should make some sense that the money would go. Oh no, what it was that CPS. Greg Goldner pointed out that CPS operates currently at a 20% deficit, which means that if we give them $1 billion, next year they'll be coming back for another $1 billion. So how do we fix this? I mean, I just don't know how we raise more taxes. They just gave us $1 billion tax increase.
There's going to be a property tax increase for the schools. There's going to be. There's going to be. It'll probably be $175-200 million a year. I mean, the bottom line still is we haven't been paying enough money for the pensions.
Who's in charge of this?
And we can't get.
Who presided over this?
Well, the CPS pensions, that was pretty much a daily disaster.
Okay.
He decided, now they decided, to get the teachers the money they wanted. They didn't pay into the pension system. And, whether or not you believe that, there was, and so as to not close schools, they didn't, pay into the pension system. Now, if you think it's all because it's crooked, I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm sure there's a lot of mismanagement.
I think they never wanted to fight with the teachers.
So there's this huge amount of, now that we changed the law so that, now they have to pay in all the money that's to the teachers' pensions that they should have been paying in all along. Well, it comes due and, there's no money to pay for it. So that's one reason why, that no matter what's going, even though there's fewer students, they still got to come up with this money for the pensions of people that are already in the system. And then the other thing is, okay, do you really think that the black community is ready to absorb more school closings, more neighborhoods without schools? I mean, I don't think it's going to go over. It's not going to sell.
I'm about to start asking for a voucher, man. Because look, this tuition is kicking my butt. It is kicking my butt. Can I just get my money back?
I know that the money going off into the charts, it's not a voucher.
Well, mine doesn't go to charters. Mine goes to a Catholic school where I see a bunch of a lot of these people that are voting or lack thereof. Because most of the people voting, kids are going to the same school.
And they'd rather have the vouchers. I understand that. I'm not a big believer in that, but
I'm just saying, man, when do I get my value? Is it just the quality? Is it because I get good parks?
Did you ever get involved with your local school? And
yes, I actually remember, Mark. I ran for local school council at Bogan High School, and I actually won. And it was the most frustrating experience of my life because we had all these No Child Left Behind dollars, and they just turned out to be overtime work programs for the teachers. Now, let me not bash, slam, or that's not my point. My only point is that didn't see them actively working to make it better for the kids, but it was a great overtime program. And so, yes, I've been actively involved, but the bureaucracy makes it just so odd.
Well, I understand. I mean, Rauner wants to just blow up the school system. And
can I suggest this?
And I just
wait. So let me ask a question, because we have an abysmal record with the schools. Now, guys, this is going to sound, there's going to be somebody that's going to say I'm crazy. They're going to say, oh, I've been paid, blah, blah, blah. But, I was just thinking, like, we get the poorest education in the state at CPS, right? Well, I mean, we look at the graduation rates. We look at the success rates. Something's got to change at some point, right? Like, yeah, you can keep pushing kids through a system that they graduate from and they can't read. And we say, we've got to fight for that system because that's what we're used to doing. Now, if there were some enterprising, smart black people, maybe they might say blow up CPS, just give us the control of the board to put it back together. Let's get the black law firms to get the deal to do the bankruptcy. Let's put whatever the board is that's appointed to put it back together. Let's put black parents, that's kids that go to that school, back together, and let's rebuild this thing in a way that is not an educational apartheid system. Because seriously, I've been into some of these schools, and at the time, I had a state rep this weekend, or I watched news views, and the state rep said that he has schools in his district that don't have desks. And I said to myself, how is that possible? Is that possible? With 56 schools closed and they're building a new school in the South Loop in your district, how is that possible?
Did he say not enough desks, or
he said desks? He said they don't have any desks. He still has.
They sit at tables. They're not standing all day. They're not sitting in the floor.
But
whatever.
It goes into the whole boogeyman.
Yes, absolutely. Chicago public schools don't have the same resources as the fine.
Some Chicago public schools, because the South Loop schools, they're building new schools, new ones. That means they're taking money that they don't have, as we're talking about pensions. And I just find it disingenuous a bit that all of this is, none of the money that we're talking about with these strikes and stuff is going to the students.
Well, just on building, I would say, you want schools where the people live. And so now that we didn't have people that lived in the South Loop, now we have an explosion of population.
Transport them. You know what? Bus them. Bus them. Oh, it was good enough for the black folks, but we can't bus. Send them to King.
White people, we don't like that.
Send them to King, right? No, King, you don't. You are tuned into the May Said podcast. We are live with Mark Brown in studio from the Chicago Sun-Times. We're going to get off this state politics. We're going to talk about the city in a minute. Earl, if you can give me just about a 2-minute break, and then when we come back, let's talk about what is the future of the city of Chicago. The mayor is in the midst of, I don't know if he might wait this thing out. I think we got people that are angling to be the next mayor. Is his time up? What's going on? What do you predict? What do we see in the future? We'll talk about that and much more when we come back. You are tuned into the May Said podcast live on WWW Intellectual Radio. We are an iHeart radio station. I'll be right back.
And the last album was just a sign that it was time for me to be released from the earth. Third trimester definition. Last stage before birth, the womb of my mind. Now I'm expanding my nostrils. Particles of a new man in an algebra. A new testament. The beginning of a new sentence. Black Ice, a definite article. And I become a part of you. 4 hours later, still serving you like a waiter, giving you wisdom like a father do. And I'm just hoping that you can keep up. I'll do the work, you just sit back and kick your feet up. Another job well done. Coming from Inglewood to Hollywood. Strictly for the listeners, it's hard work being this damn good.
Oh, it hurts me this good.
I come on the heels of Rakim and Kane. KRS-One, Coogee Rap, P.E. Nas, and Cool James. And even though I left the rap game, I'm still lyrically versed. Drop code from the last name and put black in front of the first. And with this gift comes a curse. That's where the hater comes in at. And with success comes the worst. That's where the traitors come in at. But I don't like to deal with nonsense. I'd rather drop knowledge and like a Jehovah's Witness knock on the door of your conscience. Not invent the sex. And I done seen they just not ready. When I walk into the spot, I storm brains and cause back pains because I'm real top heavy. Breaking records and legs.
Hard goddamn work making you look so bad.
It's hard work, y'all.
Hard goddamn work for another man to make another man look so bad.
Nothing can stop the flow of the pen stroke. The flow is so steady that it's serious. And you're gonna need a pad with wings to catch the overflow. And that's all I need to say about that. End the sentence. Period. And all y'all who walk through the crowd reciting trying to emulate black. It's flattering that you cats wanna copy me, but I already got 2 sons trying to do that. And I got on my hard hat. Hands gripped around my number 2 sludge hammer, digging between the lines of the page with calluses on my palm. All doing what I was told by my mom. This is the calm, but the storm is coming, so he warned us from a modern day David. This is my song. Y'all gonna have to excuse me. Sometimes I get caught up in the spirit and I lose it. And it ain't easy being this damn good. It's hard work. And I'm telling y'all, somebody gotta do it.
What's up, world? It's your man, Maze Jackson. We are back for our last segment. I am live in studio with the man, Mark Brown. We have been talking all types of state politics, but let's do with something we all love, and that is city of Chicago politics. Mark. How times have changed for Mayor Emanuel when he came to Chicago with a mandate from our president, Barack Obama. He limped through a second election, built up his confidence. He had told us he wasn't going to run again. Then a little while later, he decided he was going to run again. The Laquan McDonald tape drops, and he's on his back. But Mark, for some reason, I feel like I'm not seeing enough activity of preparations, and I'm wondering, can he weather this storm? Can Mayor Emanuel weather the storm and come back and win a third term? Do you think? You know, I go back to my time with Mayor Daley. Now, let me just say this, and I'm gonna get yelled at on my Facebook page. But I felt like you can say what you want to say about Mayor Daley, but I felt like he was our mayor. He was a Chicago mayor. And I felt like even if he didn't necessarily know the math part of it.
The math? Yeah. Yeah.
Even if he didn't do the math, he cared about our city. He gave us the Bean. He gave us Maggie Daly Park, Millennium. We hate all that stuff, but then we the first people to be cheering about it being there. But all the time, I never could find anybody that told me they liked Mayor Daley. Well, some. But he always won re-election. And I'm wondering, do you see the same thing happening for Mayor Emanuel? Do you think he can pull it off?
Well, I mean, you know this better than I do because you work the game from the inside, and it's it's one guy against another guy in the end, or in a mayoral race, it could be one guy against five, and how do you triangulate and play one off against the other, and chart a path.
Are you talking about ballot management?
Ballot management, or ballot management is part of it, but the other thing is just whispering in the ear of the right people with ambition to, oh, you could be the mayor. Get in there. Go. Oh yeah, we'll back you 100%. And somebody trying to figure out, how the math work. They are better. That's funny. They are better at electoral math, all of them, than fiscal math. So that said,
that's because you can always raise the taxes.
That said, I think he's in a lot of trouble. And I don't. It's going to get better for him from here on out. Like I said, there's going to be, there's going to have to be another tax increase for schools. They haven't figured out how to fix the laborers.
I thought the laborers just cut another deal.
Well, the laborers cut a deal, and I think that will be done with phone tax, which is a harder tax to identify as an election issue, but somebody with a good campaign could do it. So, I mean, the mayor has a lot of problems to deal with now between now and 2019.
2019.
It's a long way. I still, I've tried to write about about the next governor's race. And people were saying, well, that's too far off to be talking about. So really, I do believe, and I'm not saying it's too early to be talking about, because this is what we do. We talk, right?
We talk.
But I think I don't think anything's gotten better for him. And I think there are people making their moves, kind of feeling their way through it. And it's not a good time to get your head too far up right now, because somebody will knock it down, right?
Very much
so. I mean, you got to sort of put yourself out there and let people start seeing you and thinking of you as a leader. But if you look like you want to be the one too bad, then they take you out.
So you get your ear to the street. You have very good sources. Who are you hearing? Are you hearing any rumors? Any suspects? Anybody you're thinking?
People keep talking about Dart.
Tom Dart. Okay, we've been talking about Tom Dart coming on this show, but he doesn't like to come out after 7:00. Go ahead. That's not gonna work, Mister. If you're trying to run for mayor, go ahead.
I always in the newspaper, if I mention Dart, I usually have to disclose my wife works for the sheriff's office. So,
yes, disclose that. Mark, I knew you had some political hack in you.
No, I don't. I don't. Neither does my wife.
Okay,
but
that's what
I'm
they
now
say.
Compromised, yeah, because she works there, so I have to take both.
Okay,
that's all right. And I don't know if he's got the guts to get in there.
Man, you saw he got out of there pretty quick. He had one fake commercial the last 2 times ago when the mayor first ran, and I think they must have punked him, man. They scared him. I heard though somebody told me he's not built for tough, hostile campaigns, and he hasn't really had a challenger like that.
There's no evidence that he is.
Who else
for that?
Who else you seeing?
Well, people think Riley wants it.
Riley, racist Riley? Never. Let's just be 100% clear. You mean the guy who sent those mugshot mailers? I know you were trying to appeal to the teachers, but let me just make sure that we're clear that every time you come to the black community, we're going to do you like Donald Trump. Didn't he get money from Donald Trump? Alderman Riley?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Alderman Riley took money from Donald
Trump's
Trump.
Alderman.
Right, okay.
The Trump Tower.
Yeah, right. He's Donald Trump's. Didn't he cut his taxes? Or was it that Burke? Oh, my fault. Whatever. Okay. Who else you hearing?
Well,
Racist Riley will never get it, though. Go ahead.
I'm trying to think who else.
Now I'm hearing, what about Kurt Summers?
Kurt Summers obviously is making moves. He's making moves now. But they put him in that job to groom him and bring him along. So, would he turn on the mayor?
You see, he's trying to show some wisps of independence when he said we should. What did he came out with last week? And he said that we should go against the banks or whatever, and everybody tried to make that a big deal. I think he's trying to create some separation between him and the mayor.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, there was a busy news day, and I didn't really get to look at that closely. And it was funny. I was interested because it is a break from everybody in power. And it's what the CTU keeps advocating. And, what I found interesting was even he said it would maybe they could get $10 million out of it or something. And that.
I think he knows the audience he's playing to, because I think he might want to be the Black Hope, right? I think, and so,
and I
10
think
million.
He might be.
You think?
I don't know. I think he might be the white guy's Black Hope.
Oh, wow. You heard that. Whoa. Did you hear that?
Sorry, Kurt. I love you, bud. I'm sorry. I hope you. I should have said. I mean, come on. He's an establishment pick for that job. For the treasurer's job. I mean, people wanted. There was establishment people, business community people wanted to groom him. To be in line for things. And he's a sharp guy and, and he's got some street cred, right? Because of his grandfather and,
Are we going back to Harold Washington? Can one day black folks going to have to let Harold go?
Isn't that how it works with all of us?
No. It's not. I mean, I think some of these people don't even know who Harold Washington. You know what? I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let that go. So I can't believe you said he was the white guy's black guy. I just can't believe we heard that.
Do you disagree?
I like Kurt.
I
think
too.
Kurt's a good guy.
He's a very smart guy.
I think that he is going to have a significant amount of challenges trying to shake the reputation of being Rahm and the hedge fund manager's choice. So I'll give you some credence there. I just can't believe you said that.
That's the way you come at it. If you got a good candidate of your own.
You know what? I think I'm staying out of these races. The I also hear Troy LaRiviere is trying to angle for the position of mayor as well, or at least setting himself up, which I could see CTU trying to push him as a candidate because he's gotten some press. I don't know if he's got the let me back up because I like Troy. We went to college together. We were in the movement together. We plotted on shutting down the student services buildings together. But I tend to think that the candidates, those liberal candidates, live in a world that is not really the political reality. And when they start getting hit with the realities of Illinois politics, particularly, they don't necessarily shake out in the wash. So that'll be interesting.
I stuck up for Troy on this, this whole thing of trying to fire him. I'm not going to be advancing his cause for mayor, but maybe he could start a little smaller. But he is.
Well, let's see. I'm telling you.
Kwame. People talk about him.
Has he ever faced a challenger?
If you're in the,
but he was appointed for everything, wasn't he? Because I think he ran for that spot a couple times and he couldn't get it, so he got appointed. So I think that'll be a tough one too. Because I also think I'm hearing Larry Rogers again. Now I'm going to tell you who.
Larry's not good. I don't.
Yeah, I think Larry's got too much money and too much juice going on. Here's the interesting one I keep hearing. Bridget Gaynor. Now I'm going to tell you, I think that Bridget Gaynor is a very formidable candidate if she gets in. I think she ties up labor. She's a female. Cook County Land Bank. It'll be very interesting to see all those guys.
She's positioning herself for a future, whether that's it or something else. I don't know. Would she run against Rahm? I don't know. I haven't seen her do anything risky. I mean, you're going to run for mayor. It's a risky move. You can get hurt.
You can definitely get hurt because they are out looking to chop heads right now. They're trying to. Did you say you're thinking about being mayor? Because they will call you up in all your building. Let me stop. Let me not even say.
And I'm not knocking her. I suppose she. I've heard her name, and she probably belongs in the conversation. I mean, there'll be somebody else, somebody that we're not thinking of yet. Exactly, probably.
I hope it's not Chewy. You think they're gonna try that one again?
I think Chewy will try again. He seems to that's that sort of we didn't get.
He's on the Willie Wilson. Is he in the Willie Wilson program? So he thinks that because he placed, he can run for president too. And Bernie Sanders may have given him a little credibility.
I think he's more in the Bernie Sanders track. Not letting go. I do think he. I think there's a group of people that think, he was a good pick, and so he'll make moves, and then we'll see whether. I don't think the fire burns in his belly, though.
No, I think he likes just being a happy guy.
Yeah,
I think he likes to shake hands and be for the people. And do you really want all those tough decisions? Do you really want to have to raise our taxes another $1 billion? Who wants to be that guy? Let me ask another question. Do you think Lisa Madigan has a chance of any of it, governor, or has she pump faked too many times and we've all just said no? Or do you think she will suffer the backlash of the result of her?
That's the
Game of Thrones, man.
It's the father problem still, and she's hung around until the point where the name's been hurt.
The name is damaged.
It is very damaged, and even if we live in a world where you're not supposed to visit the sins of the parent on the child, but when you get to where you are, in part because of the parents' power. I think she's done a good job, although everybody in that job, it's always hard to say that they
How do you lose? How do you lose as Attorney General, though?
Once you're in,
right? I mean, what do you do bad? You just get to sue all the bad guys anyway.
You sue the bad guys, and and you prosecute child porn. There's she's a very sharp person, and I've seen that she hires good people around her, and so I got to believe she runs a good office.
I think she runs a good office. I actually think she's a really cool person, very nice. I just don't know if we can allow, I think of The Godfather, right? And I think of like when Vito Andolini, they come and kill the whole family. Like they don't let you come back, right? Like we don't give you a chance to come back because all that latent power comes back to whack people. Mark, we got to go, so I'm going to let you close it up before we get out of here.
So, you've been calling me the man. Now, is that symbolic, like the man
yes.
or the man?
You are the man.
Okay.
You are the man.
Happy to be on you.
Huh?
Happy to be on your show.
I'm happy that you're here. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the May Said podcast every Monday from 8 to 9. My guest in studio, the man, Mark Brown, columnist, Chicago Sun-Times. Y'all make sure y'all pick him up every day. Mark, what days do you take off?
I'm in the paper Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday.
Check him out. Also follow him on Twitter. He also tweets. Check him out on Facebook. All of that good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a blast. Until next week, we'll be back. It's your boy, it's your man, Maze Jackson, until we come back. Peace.
Third trimester definition. Last days before birth, the womb of my mind. Now I'm expanding my nostrils. Particles of a new man and an opposite. A New Testament. The beginning of a new sentence. Black Ice, the definite article. And I become a part of you. 4 hours later, still serving you like a waiter, giving you wisdom like a father do. And I'm just hoping that you can keep up. I'll do the work, you just sit back and keep your